Hello, everyone, and welcome to the psychology of my life. As a child, my parents described me as a difficult baby. Difficult babies tend to cry frequently, have intense emotions, and are more irritable. Because I was a difficult baby, my mom attempted to negatively reinforce me in my crying. If I cried too loudly or for too long, my mother would just leave me in my crib because nothing else would solve whatever problem I was going through besides me crying it out on my own. By not showing up when I cried every time, baby me learned that crying wouldn't necessarily always get my mom's attention. Thus, she was able to reinforce me not crying by taking away her presence. One example of a time my mom didn't negatively reinforce me was one night after crying for a couple of hours, my dad decided to come into my room, and when he did, he says that he saw me running back and forth in my crib. And when I saw him, because of my intense emotions of a difficult baby, I apparently was so mad that I jumped out of my crib and ended up hitting my head. In my family, there's my older brother Nathaniel, me, my younger brother Chase, my younger brother Ethan, and my little sister Audrey. Like Alfred Adler, I'm a firm believer in personality by birth order. As a result of being the second oldest of five and the oldest girl, I've been raised to have mature and independent characteristics. The leader in me can be seen in the roles I take upon myself, such as NHS officer and small group leader in my church. I always tell people if I could pick which number child I would want to be, I would still pick second oldest because you're not the guinea pig of the family, but you still have plenty of people to boss around. Both of my parents were born in South Korea but moved to the United States when they were about 3 and 4. Because of this, my family has always had a strong cultural Korean influence in our sense of values and traditions. I always say I get the best of both worlds. And one example of this is how my family eats Korean food for half of the week, and then the other half of the week is devoted to whatever cuisine we want to eat. Another example of this is despite the little Korean the kids in our family know, we still call each other by traditional callings for siblings. Words such as oppa, nuna, unni. These are all different names used within the Korean culture and within my household. A part of being one of the older children, I've grown to have a strong sense of identity. Identity is the self-definition that unifies various selves into a consistent and comfortable sense of who one is. For example, one of my most treasured moments in life was when my 5th grade Park District softball team won first place in the championship game. Although we won, I can wholeheartedly say I was not a large contribution to the win. But ever since then, I've realized that I'm not a very athletic person. Another aspect of my identity is in elementary school I showed an interest in student council, and as a result of me having a strong sense of identity, even back then, my continued passion led me to be student council president of my elementary school, junior high, and now high school. The term klutz is a term used to describe a person with a poor vestibular sense, and I would definitely classify myself as a klutz. My ability to trip over nothing has been a reoccurring challenge in my life for as long as I can remember, which explains my non-athleticism, as well as my surprise when I made the POMS team in 8th grade and was able to continually be on a team for 4 more years. Having danced for most of my life, a vestibular sense seemed present only when I danced and not necessarily in my daily life. Some common characteristics of left brain dominant people are the ability to be practical, they tend to form strategies, they're detail oriented, follow facts and rules, and are list makers. I would certainly use all of these features to describe myself as well. I've always been known to follow the rules, and my love for lists can be seen through the common use of my Notes app in the iPhone. A predominant feature of right brain people is that of being somewhat artistically inclined, which is totally the opposite of me as well. This can be seen through my generic subpar art projects as a child. After having worked at Starbucks for almost a year, I would say my ability to make drinks and do the tasks required has been stored in my long-term memory. With so many syrups, drinks, and sizes, the job of a barista is to be able to make any one of these combinations at the drop of a hat. When it comes to school, however, it seems I have more of a long-term memory for what people wore the first day of school than how to prove an isosceles triangle from freshman year geometry. I've always written down my fears in hopes of one day being able to overcome them. But I also understand that having fears or phobias is a part of being a normal human. On the list of some of my top fears is water. Despite my knowledge of knowing how to swim, whenever I get into a large body of water, my mind still gets nervous that I'll drown. I also have a strange fear of things multiplying or too much of one thing, which is easier seen than shown. The anthill picture shown gives me great fear and activates my sympathetic nervous system because I one time had a dream that there were so many ants that they covered my entire body to the point where I couldn't breathe or smell, and ever since then, too many of one thing freaks me out. Even the sponge, which has an infinite amount of holes, gives me goosebumps looking at it. In my free time, I constantly like to challenge myself and learn new things, and in the past, one of those things has been learning the Rubik's Cube. This is a sped up version of me completing just one side of the cube. Although it can be perceived as nerdy, the left side brain of me loves the systematic algorithms needed to solve the puzzle. Algorithms guarantee an accurate result, and for a person like me, where it's hard to think out of the box, these are always helpful. My use of algorithms also explains my need for directions in anything I do, whether it be exact directions of how to get somewhere, or a recipe on how to bake something. I always follow things using algorithms to guarantee a result. Throughout my life, I've always tried to be my own person, whether that means following the trend or not. Junior year, I even spoke about the aspects of conformity seen at Fremd in my Writer's Week piece titled How to Be a Fremd Girl, recognizing that at times we all fall under some category of conformity. Even when I was younger, I still attempted to stay true to myself. I'm not quite sure if overalls were popular or not, but it doesn't matter because in my mind they were the coolest outfit to wear, so I wore them all of the time. By applying these terms to my life, I have a better ability to understand who I was and who I'll become. As I take on the new adventure of college at the University of Illinois in Champaign, I hope to discover and be able to classify new aspects of my life that I never even knew existed.